grading the BCS conferences against non-conference competition. MarkRogersTV and ProFootballCentral.com as we continue to look at each BCS conference and how it performed against the other BCS conferences. So most of those games are in the books and conference play has begun and we'll finish out the regular season. There's still some great non-conference matchups near the end of the season like Clemson, South Carolina, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and some teams playing Notre Dame, of course. But most of the non-conference competition is in the books, and that's the best way to compare the conferences. And we'll do so once we get to bowl play and postseason play as well. But for right now, we're giving grades based on that performance. The SEC gets a C-. The Pac-12 gets a B+. Check out those video posts, and you can surely add your comments. We certainly want to hear from you. If you love college football, love to discuss and debate it, the games, the matchups, the history, follow me on Twitter, and we will talk college football. Subscribe to my YouTube channel right here at MarkRogersTV. Okay, again, we've looked at the SEC and the Pac-12. This does not mean that I believe that the Pac-12 is better than the SEC. The SEC is still the best conference in college football, but the Pac-12 has performed better against its non-conference competition. Now we get to the greatest revenue-generating conference in college football. Not the SEC, it's the Big Ten. The most recent tax year's been released. Those numbers are on the books. They're public record. The Big Ten outdistances the SEC. Actually, when it comes to any measurement except wins and losses in recent years, it's the SEC and the Big Ten far above all the other conferences. Now, for years and years and years, those two conferences owned college football, and of course the SEC has taken off in recent years and blown away the Big Ten and everyone else. And actually, the Big Ten has been the one conference that has at times stood toe-to-toe with the SEC if you check out the bowl results in postseason play. Let's get back to our point here. The SEC and the Big Ten dominate TV ratings. We've talked about it. We've researched it. We've shown you the numbers in previous posts. Also, in terms of attendance, the SEC at 75,000 average per game is number one. The Big Ten number two at 70,000 butts in the seats per game. No other conference gets 60,000 average attendance to its football stadiums. So it's not even close. TV ratings, not close. SEC, Big Ten. And so in terms of those ratings, there is no competition there. And in terms of money, the Big Ten and the SEC, although the SEC is right around the pace of the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. Okay, let's get to the competition on the field. And of course, the Big Ten has taken a beating in the national media, most deservedly so in recent years. Not completely, though, and we've talked a number of times about the true reality of what's happened on the football field versus the perception of the Big Ten and the beating the Big Ten has taken. But let's look at 2013, and the Big Ten is 9-8 against the BCS. Those are the other teams in the BCS conferences. 1-5 against the top 25, 37-11 non-conference total. Okay, how does that stack up against the other conferences? Well, the SEC, as we talked about, 32-7, and again, check out the post there. And again, the Big Ten at 37-11, and the Pac-12 at 29-5. But against the quality teams, the Pac-12 has fared the best. Let's run down the Big Ten, and we would consider this a very marginal year for the Big Ten, coming off a horrible year, what I would consider to be the worst performance by the Big Ten non-conference in its history. It's bounced back, but not much. Still losing most of the big games. Certainly that Wisconsin-Arizona State, I would have loved to have seen the Wisconsin kicker actually get a chance to win the football game against a top 25 team. So we've got Ohio State defeating Cal. What does that say? Not much, but we're running down the games against the other BCS conferences. So the Buckeyes, the best team in the Big Ten, we believe. At this point, certainly defeating one of the worst teams in the Pac-12, Cal. Wisconsin lost to Arizona State. That was the Badgers' lone game against the top 25 team and lone game against the BCS conference foe. You can almost throw that one out because you can't give the loss to Wisconsin in terms of, certainly, they lost the football game. It's in the record books, but we are looking at matching up the conferences and the play on the field, and Wisconsin not given a chance to win that football game. Arizona State gets the victory there. And so we're going to count it here, but put the star by that game. Penn State defeated Syracuse. They lost to Central Florida. Illinois defeated Cincinnati. Nice win for the Illini coming off a 2-10 campaign in 2012. Then they turned around and lost to Washington at Wrigley Field. Not a bad loss for Illinois. Washington has proven to be a top 15 to 20 team, so that would be a game. See, there's good losses to a certain extent, although no loss is a good loss. But when one of the worst teams in the Big Ten loses to one of the best teams in the Pac-12, that's not a horrible loss. That's a decent, especially when they lost 34-24, that's a decent showing. A bad loss is obviously, like we talked about in the Pac-12 post, when Oregon State, who has now bounced back, lost to Eastern Washington. That would be a bad loss. Okay, Purdue. They lose to Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and Northern Illinois. Actually, 2 of the Big Ten's losses here out of 11 are to Northern Illinois. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The MAC should not be beating the Big Ten, but at the same time, it's 2 marginal teams in the Big Ten, and Purdue possibly could turn out to be the worst team in the Big Ten. Has certainly looked that way over the first 4 to 5 weeks. And Northern Illinois obviously went to a BCS game last year. Indiana lost to Navy. They lost to Missouri. They defeated Bowling Green, which I'm typically not noting MAC victories here, but that was a game that I was a bit surprised that IU won. Looking at the other division, Michigan not impressive, but they did get the top 25 win over Notre Dame at the time, and UConn. Michigan State defeated South Florida. They lost to Notre Dame in a very tight ball game. Nebraska, this was probably the worst showing or the most important showing and disappointment for the Big Ten in the non-conference season. Nebraska, a favorite at home against UCLA, talked up the revenge after losing at the Rose Bowl last season. And UCLA came in and, coming off tragedy in which they lost a freshman wide receiver that week, got down like 18 points in the first half, and UCLA went on a 38-0 run to knock off Nebraska. So Nebraska continues to be a disappointment in regards to its stay in the Big Ten at this point. Anyway, that's another subject. Northwestern defeats Cal and Syracuse. The Wildcats have performed very well in non-conference play in recent years. Iowa gets a decent win over Iowa State. They did lose to Northern Illinois. We talked about that. And then you got Minnesota, who went 4-0 in non-conference play but played no one representing BCS conferences. Minnesota did get a decent win for that program against San Jose State, a team that went 11-2 and finished in the top 25 last year. So again, the Big Ten goes 1-5 against the top 25, goes 9-8 overall against BCS conference teams, 37-11 against all non-conference competition. And really, there's just one game to go with Wisconsin hosting BYU in November. That's the Big Ten results. We think that there's some decent efforts in there. Certainly, there are no surprise wins, no real big wins. If there was any one big win at the time, it was Illinois defeating Cincinnati. The Michigan win over Notre Dame is certainly one that the Wolverines had to have. Wisconsin going to Arizona State would have been a big win for the Big Ten and the Badgers, but it didn't happen. And everybody else pretty much held serve. And no real horrible losses here. And if there was a positive loss per se, it would be Illinois losing by just 10 points to Washington. Penn State took it on the chin to Central Florida, and Central Florida is decent. We saw them play South Carolina to a 28-25 game this past week. Okay, we give the Big Ten a solid C. A C performance, very marginal, pretty much doing what they're supposed to be doing or what is expected of this conference at this point. Most observers believe that the ACC has passed this league by, certainly the Pac-12, the Big 12 possibly. That's a subject for another day. Right now we're just grading the leagues against the non-conference competition. We give the Big Ten a C. Now we would like to hear from you right here on Mark Rogers TV and ProFootballCentral.com.